Well, good morning and welcome to the Great Transitions Senior Living Seminar Series. Great Transitions was founded in 2013 by our good friends Paul and Lynn Henderson to guide seniors during one of life's biggest transitions. It is a system for working with seniors and their advisors or family members as their lifestyle and housing needs change. Now, sometimes this can be 12 to 18 months of preparation. Sometimes it's even longer, and this is where having a plan is so important. There are other instances when an event, a life event, can expedite the process, and that's another reason to have a plan in place, even if you just have it so you can pull it off the shelf when you need to implement it. We're here to help guide you through developing that plan and walking you through the entire process. We genuinely believe that helping and guiding seniors is our greatest calling, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here to be a resource for you. The educational partners that you met earlier, they all feel the same way, and that's why they're in this room. And so we're delighted to be partnered with them as well. That's pretty much the Great Transitions way. So our objective here today is to bring you education. And every month we bring a different topic. Could be legal, financial, medical, housing, and other general issues and topics of importance to seniors. This is a sales-free zone. We are not here to sell you anything. We are here to simply provide you information. But we do ask you to keep in the back of your mind this idea of creating a plan, because who's going to be tasked with making decisions for you when you're no longer able to do so? And will you agree with the decisions that they make? Have you developed your plan, and have you shared that with the trusted advisors or family members in your life? So we just ask you to keep that in the back of your mind. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit, because today's seminar has a little bit different format than our usual seminars. I get to switch from moderator to panelist. And I'm excited to be here with my good friend Jane. I'll introduce her to you in just a moment. Today's topic is basically going to be in the format of a fireside chat. So we welcome you to our living room, and we're going to talk to you about a tough topic. I want to move. Now what do I do? So we were talking with some of our friends this morning that moved 18 or 20 times, I think you said, over the course of their life. So making a move now is something they've done a lot before, but things may be a little different. How many of you have moved more than once? Okay, so we have an experienced group of people in the room. But making a move when you've been in a home maybe for a long time, or you're not a spring chicken anymore, it gets a little harder. And that's why we wanted to talk about it in our Behind Closed Doors series, because sometimes it means admitting that, oh, I can't do it all, right? I don't have the strength, or I don't have the stamina, I don't have the energy, I don't even want to do it all. And so we're going to talk about that. The burdens of home ownership are real. And over time, it becomes harder to manage some of those things. I was talking with someone earlier about getting insurance quotes. I don't know about you, but if you tried to call someone on the phone recently, it's a challenge just to navigate the prompts process and get through to talk to a real person, let alone if you've got to coordinate a service provider to come out to your house that's reliable, that shows up, that gets the work done, and that charges a reasonable amount. So those things all can get kind of heavy. And a lot of us will admit that we like the idea of moving to something more manageable, but don't know exactly where to start. So today, we're going to dive into some of those steps. Just a reminder, Jot down your questions. If something is resonating with you that we're talking about a certain topic, make a note of it. We'll have Q&A afterwards. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my good friend Jane to you. This is Jane Cole from Happy Home Organizing. And Jane and I were talking earlier. One of my Facebook friends, my childhood friends, reached out to me because I had put a post on that Jane and I were going to be on the panel together. And we found out that we were at the same wedding over 35 years ago. So we've been friends for longer than we knew. So I'm really excited to have Jane here with me. Since 1998, Jane has successfully helped clients in many stages of disorganization to remove the clutter from their homes and organize their possessions according to the client's needs and lifestyles. Jane has been a member of the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals since 1998, an organization dedicated to promoting and supporting the field of professional organizing. In 2008, Jane became a certified professional organizer. She's a member of that organization's Golden Circle, which recognizes productivity and organizing professionals who have attained an elevated level of experience and expertise. To further that expertise in the organizing profession, Jane joined the Institute for Challenging Disorganization. This is another reason why we're friends. Whose mission is to explore, develop, and disseminate to professional organizers and related professionals organizing methods, techniques, approaches, and solutions that will benefit chronically disorganized people. Whew. I'm really glad you're here today.
Thanks.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm celebrating my 10th year in real estate. I started in real estate in 2014 and have seen a lot of transactions come and go in that time. I've been recognized by the Orlando Regional Realtors Association and the Orlando Sentinel consistently as a top performer, and just last week I was awarded double gold status for our office, which was great, along with a couple of other awards. Thank you. But the awards don't really matter. What is important to me are the designations that I hold. And there are two that I hold and one that I'm working on. The first is a graduate of the Real Estate Institute, and that was a class that I took through the Orlando Regional Realtors Association. It took me about 3 years to get that process done, and gave me a great foundation of all things real estate. The second is I'm a certified senior housing professional. That was basically a college class that I had to take in order to learn how to better serve seniors at a high level. And the whole reason that I got involved with serving seniors is because I got to help my own parents downsize a couple of years ago out of the home they had built in 1974. And that just ignited a passion in me to help people that are making moves after having lived in their home for a long time or being late in life. And the third one is one I'm working on that has been fascinating to me. I have a business coach, and I have a coach at the gym that I go to. Does anybody out here have a coach that they see from time to time for anything? I see a couple of hands out there. I think everybody needs a coach. And so I'm getting a certification in downsizing coaching. Because what does a coach do for you? They help provide ideas and instruction, but they help empower you to get through a process or make changes. And so I'm excited to get that. Hopefully I'll have that done in the next month or so, and then I'll be asking you some really thought-provoking questions. So with that said, now you know who we are. We're going to dive into the topic at hand and start talking about the things we need to do to get ready to make a move. Whenever we go out and counsel someone, and I think this is a conversation I've probably had with some of you that are in the room, I'm so overwhelmed I don't know where to begin, right? It's a daunting process to move. Whether you're 20 or whether you're 70. The thing about it, when we're 70, we usually have a few more things than we had when we were 20. And so there's a lot of memories, a lot of life that has to be navigated, and it's a deeper process. And so we usually find that people are in one of two camps. The first is, I know I want to move. I have no idea where that is. I don't know how it's going to go down. I don't even know what the next step is, but I know I need to make a change. And the other camp is, I've decided what I'm going to do. I've identified the place that I'm going to move to, and I have no idea how I'm going to make it happen, right? So that's what we're going to break down a little bit today. So for those who are in the first camp of, I know I need to do something, but I have no idea what it is, that process really begins with thinking. And that's something that all of us can do. It does require some energy and some intentionality, but I ask you to begin to visualize what your life could look like, how it would look different, maybe if you weren't having to navigate the burdens of homeownership. I mentioned my parents earlier. The house that I grew up in was on 2.5 acres on a lake. It had a dock and a boat and beautiful oak trees that spit out moss every time the wind blew just a little bit. The house required maintenance because it had been built in 1974, so there were constant projects that were being taken care of. And so my parents began to visualize what it would look like if they didn't have to manage all that stuff. Were they going to miss it? Sure. But having the stress over having to navigate service providers and insurance costs and all of that stuff was just beginning to be too much. So that process of visualization began. The second step is to begin to look at your options. So we had our educational partners up here earlier. A couple of them are communities. Some of you have been on our Whistle Stop tours. How many of you have been on a tour this spring with us? Yes, lots of fun. And that's on your sheet as well. You can note we've got a tour actually tomorrow at the Mayflower. We're excited to go take a look at that. If you'd like to join us, you can let us know. Knowledge is power. Every time I go to these communities, I learn something new. And so it is very helpful to go and look at the options 2, 3, 4, maybe 8 times, because it's a big decision and you need to have all the information you can to make the right decision for you. Maybe for you the right thing is to just move to a smaller house. Maybe you're in a 4,000 square foot house and you need to be in a 1,200 square foot condo. That might be perfect for you. And so we need to look at the options that are available to you and what all that would entail. And the third thing that we see some of our attendees and clients doing is moving in with family. Multi-generational housing is making a comeback. So people are adding on in-law suites. They are expanding their properties. There are even some new builders that are building multi-generational homes where there are 2 separate living spaces. So there are a lot of options. You owe it to yourself to get educated on that. And then the third step is to talk with those in your trusted circle. That may be family members. It may be a trusted advisor like an attorney, a CPA, a financial advisor. It may be a friend, and that's where Downsizers Club comes into play. We're talking in Downsizers Club about going through the process together. And I don't know about you, whenever I've gone through those really tough seasons in life, it's helpful to know that there are other people that have gone through similar seasons and they survived, because that tells me that I can do that too. So we join together and get a little camaraderie. The second camp are those that have said, I know where I'm going. I'm moving in with my daughter. I'm going to XYZ community. I'm going to move from a single family home into a condo. You know that you've made that decision. You just need to start the process. I read a book recently called Who Not How. This has changed my life. How many of you fix your own car when something goes wrong with it? None of us do, right? How many of you have a trusted mechanic that you go to when something's wrong with your car? That's your who, right? I don't need to know how the computer in my car works. I just need to be able to trust someone that can work on it when I need them to work on it, for the price I need them to work on it, and that the repair is going to stick and hold and do its job. And so I encourage you to get your who's in order, and we're going to talk through that a little bit more today. So as we dive into this moving thing, there are a lot of terms that we talk about and we throw around, and two of them we kind of use interchangeably, and I'd like you to break it down for us a little bit, Jane. Downsizing and decluttering. Sometimes we use those the same, but they're not really. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. Okay. So downsizing, and these are words that in my profession, these are words that are always talked about. Downsizing is where you're moving from your space into something smaller. Okay. So you're having to choose what you're going to take with you and what are you going to leave behind. Decluttering is where you're taking the surface of what you've got, the things that you're seeing around your home or your spaces, and taking those out so that you've got a clearer space, you've got more room to move, it looks better, it feels better. So there's a little bit of that, they do kind of intertwine and cross over, but if you really want to separate those, the downsizing is moving from one space down into something smaller, which does include the decluttering. But the decluttering is basically taking the stuff that is no longer important, that you're tired of looking at, that's getting in your way, and removing that from the space. So that's the difference.
Okay, so is it ever too soon to start the process?
Never. That is always. So my answer to that is start yesterday. Okay? I'm not planning right now to move. I don't have any desire to, I'm staying in my place. But I also realize that at some point down the road, I don't know when that's going to be, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I don't know. But right now, I always have a box in my garage that's for Goodwill or Salvation Army or wherever I'm going to take something. If I'm finished with it, I'm tired of looking at it. I am constantly, as I walk through my home, I will see something and I go, I'm tired of looking at that. Pick it up, I take it out and I put it into the box. That way, I keep my home down to a minimum. I still have the things that I love. I still have some of my children's artwork up because and they're 30 now, but I love some of their pieces of artwork that they made. But some of the other stuff that might have been a part of my color scheme or might have been important to me at one time, now I'm kind of, I'm tired of looking at that. Or no, that's not the right color anymore. Or I have to clean that because it just gets dusty and I don't care to dust it anymore because I'm lazy. So I take and I go put it out into my box that I'm going to bless somebody else with.
Bless somebody else. Let's unpack that a little bit. What does that look like? Because how do I know I might need this water bottle someday?
When we bless somebody else, basically, and I tell clients, because everybody, this is a part of our vocabulary. We grow up learning this. We need to get rid of it. Okay, immediately, and even when you say it, I'm going to get rid of this. Immediately, your face turns up when you say that word, because it's a negative word. So automatically, psychologically, your brain goes, oh, no, you can't get rid of that because Aunt Martha gave that to you. No, you can't get rid of that because you spent money on that. No, you can't, whatever. You won that award, whatever it was. But if you use positive language when you're downsizing or decluttering, when you use positive language such as, I'm going to bless this on to somebody else that will love it, that will take care of it, that wants it. Now see, doesn't that feel good? To know that something that we treasured at one point, that we can say, yeah, it's not such a treasure for me anymore, but I think somebody else might really enjoy this. So when we go through this, the process is really to use positive language instead of the, I need to get rid of this. I need to just trash that. You see how negative, you can even see when I say it, my face turns up. So automatically my brain is going, no, you can't do that because it's negative. So use positive language when you're looking at downsizing or decluttering, because then it's going to help you to make better choices and feel better about the choices that you make. Let it go, bless someone else, find a new home. Those are great ways to look at your things that you at one time, really treasured.
I love that. And we didn't really talk about this when we were prepping for our fireside chat, but we have talked about it a lot in Downsizers Club, that when you use those negative words like I'm overwhelmed, I'm going to get rid of this, all of that stuff, you're actually breaking connections in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say things like, I'm going to bless somebody with this, I'm going to find a new home for this, I'm going to tackle this, even if you don't believe it, you're strengthening your neural connections in your brain and it's empowering you.
Exactly, and it's bringing in endorphins, which are the good things that give you energy, that help you to make better choices, that lighten things up in your brain. It connects those neurons.
I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. Whew. Okay, so let's get through some of these other things because I
Alright.
think we've got some great information. So let's say someone has decided that they're going to make a move. Maybe they're still not sure where they're going. Jane, what are some good first steps that they can begin with?
Okay, so one of the things would be to start thinking about, if you had a new space, what would it look like? What do you want it to feel like? Okay, whether that's minimalist, whether it's just the most prized possessions that you have, colors, all of that. Just thinking about, what do you want your space to look like? You want to have space to move around, not having to dust, not having to clean, not having to store. So what is it that you want your new place? If you could just say, I'm going to get a new place today, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and then there it is today, right? What would you like that to look like and feel like? The second thing that I tell clients is to start looking at your furniture. And you say, well, my furniture, okay. What do you mean? Well, look at useful furniture. What furniture do you have that is useful, that you can use to store things in? Because a lot of times when you're downsizing, you're not going to have the space and the closets to put things. So what you want to do is start looking at furniture that you can store some things, okay? This way, it's going to help you feel better about some of the things that you want to take, but where am I going to put it? If you really, really feel that you need to take it, you still have to have a place to store it, don't you? So you might have a little side table that's next to your couch. It's just a table, that's all it is, and it has space underneath it. That's a possibility, because you could put a basket under there to store the blanket that's up for the couch, or to put the dog toys, or to put whatever. It's still space underneath. But then again, if you've got a side table that has 3 drawers in it, or it's a small cabinet, you can store things in there, okay? With that way, you've got it so that anything that you're needing in that space, you have a place to put it. So as to really start thinking about that, what furniture can you take that's going to be helpful for you in your new space? And then,
I want to ask a question around that. Would you potentially take mixed rooms, like take something that's in a bedroom now and put it in a living room?
you can if it's a prized piece for you. If it's a prized piece and it's maybe something, you've got a second or third bedroom that has a piece of furniture in there that, you know, your great-grandmother gave you, that you still love, that you want to have with you, yes, by all means, you can use that as a decorative piece that's in your new place, as long as there's room for it. You know, it's those things to think about. Would you take that piece as opposed to this piece? You know, they may be the same, but this one is more treasured because it was from Aunt Martha, or I, you know, for whatever reason, I grew up with this piece. two same pieces, but this one is the one that's prized for me, and that's the one that I want to continue to enjoy. It can still serve the same purpose. Okay?
Do I need to go through and label every single item in my home and label where every single item is going?
No, you do not. So one of the things with downsizing, and we're going to continue to talk about this, how to go about the process. But when you are actually getting ready to move, one of the things is with those pieces of furniture that you said, okay, this piece of furniture, this is what I want to take. Maybe it was your the dining room hutch that had all the beautiful, your china and all that. But you've decided, I can't take all this china. I haven't used it in years. I'm not going to use it. I'm giving it to my granddaughter or whatever. But you've decided that you're not going to take that. You can then start to put the things that you want to take with you, that you want to still enjoy, that you still want to view, put that into the china hutch so that that piece of furniture has a different use, but you're still taking that china hutch and you're still having the things that you want. Then when it comes time to move, you put one sign on that piece of furniture that has all of your lovelies, all of your beautiful things that you want to take. You just say, this goes. It's got a green sticker on it. We can talk about that later. But basically it's saying this piece of furniture, everything that's in it, in all the drawers or in all the cabinets, and everything that's on it is going with me. So you can set that up and say, right here, this will get packed up, it'll go, and it'll get unpacked, and it'll look just like that, okay? So think about that along with your furniture. What do you want that furniture to look like? Put the things on there that you want to have with you, and then take out anything that you're not going to be taking with you. And that's for the downsizing. Even with decluttering, you can take some of that stuff out and say, I'm not using it, but I want other things in there that I can view and enjoy. And I'm going to let go of some of these other things to declutter. So either way, it works.
Okay, love that. So those are some great, very practical tips of things. You might be planning to be in your home, like Jane said, for the next 5 to 10 years. And yet those are still some things that you can do. When the pandemic started, when we were completely shut down those 2 or 3 weeks and couldn't go anywhere, I decluttered my pantry. Do you know how good that made me feel? Everything was organized. I would just stand there and look, and it's like, oh, it made so much sense to do that.
It's that awe moment. Oh,
yes.
you know.
Exactly. So having that feeling, that's energizing, and it helps you to get on other projects as well. So let's say you've begun some of the processes and you're moving further down this continuum. You've decided that you're going to make a move. A lot of the questions are around, well, how am I going to manage all of this stuff? Because your mind immediately thinks of all of the things that need to happen in order to get you from point A to point B. How am I going to keep everything straight? So having a system is crucial. And so you want to work with someone that has an organized system and process. Do we have any engineers in the room? We usually always have a couple, front and center. Some people are going. Engineers like a good system and a good process, right? And we all do if we're honest. And so I referenced who, not how. That's a part of creating the system. You want to hire someone to help you through this process that has a systematic, step-by-step procedure to get you from point A to point B. And so we're going to talk through some of those things. We have a 12-step process. A 12-step program, if you will.
Don't let that scare you.
Where we go through each and everything. Once our timelines are set, we begin with the end in mind. And so once you have identified where you're going and when you're going to go there, that's our starting point, and we back up everything from there. Walking you through the processes of bringing Jane in. An organizer like Jane can help you get through things so much faster than you can ever do it by yourself. I've witnessed it. The speed at which we've been able to go through people's kitchens together.
2 hours is I would say, the average that we've done.
It would take me days.
2 hours. And
If
you're
I had-
done, you're ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. And yet you can still make coffee in the morning and bake brownies on the weekend if you want to.
Right.
Because it's putting everything in such an order that you can use what you need to use while you are there, and you don't have to worry about the things that you're not needing to use. And so it's just having that help makes all the difference. And that's true for every step of the process. It's true for when it's time to talk to the movers, the move manager, deciding what is going to fit into the new place that you're going to. That piece of furniture that Aunt Martha gave you, where are we going to put that? Knowing that in advance gives you peace of mind because you know you have a place for all that stuff. The who's are going to help you with that. Then getting into the new place and getting organized. The move managers and the movers will unpack you and put everything away and take all the boxes away. How cool is that? I know on my last move, it took me a good 3 months to get all the boxes unpacked. I don't know about you, Melanie. Well, you talked about, yeah, exactly. Right? Put them in that room upstairs that we're not using, and there they sit. No, that's not going to happen. We're going to get you settled. And then, well, what about all the other stuff that I'm going to bless other people with? That's where the estate sale comes into play, and we'll help you manage that process as well. So it does not have to be overwhelming, and in fact can leave you overjoyed because you have help going through each and every part of the process. Talking about estate sales and all the stuff that maybe we aren't going to be taking with us, should I just go ahead and donate things as I'm going through and decluttering? Should I save it for an estate sale? What is the difference there?
Well, a lot of that depends on where you're at, how soon you're going to be moving, how you feel about donating, or how you feel about an estate sale, what's going to be the best. You know, you have to ask all of these questions. If you have a lot of stuff that you've gone through and you know, or you're just even sitting in your living room and you're looking through and going, I'm not taking even half of this stuff, at that point you might say, then an estate sale might be the best route for me to take. Because as I tell all my clients, estate sale people will sell everything that's not nailed down in your house. They will sell cans of food. Okay? You think, well, why, I can donate all that. Sure, you can donate it, but think about if you want to recoup some of the money that you have spent on things over the years. A lot of times things do lose their value, but somebody out there in the world may be able to, it's like, yeah, I want to get my hands on that. And so I'm going to recoup the money. I, in fact, bought a dulcimer a couple months back because I went to an estate sale, and I was overjoyed because I just thought, this is just the coolest thing. So, they could have just given it to somebody at Goodwill or wherever their charity. But at the estate sale, I saw it online, and I beelined it to that estate sale because I was like, that's what I want. A dulcimer, if you don't know, it's a mountain instrument that has 4 strings on it, two together and 2 separate ones.
When are you going to come play for us?
We'll see about that. I've got to learn because I also play ukulele. But anyways, but that's what people do is at estate sales. You can actually go online and look at the pictures of the stuff that people are selling, and a lot of people, these collectors, people like me, who's just your average Jane, and I saw something and I was like, I beelined it. That's what I went to that estate sale for. So, you know, you never know, but if you've got enough stuff to do an estate sale, it is well worth it to have an estate sale. That way you're not having to worry about, oh, well, gosh, let me get it boxed up. Now I got to figure out how to get it to my charity. Now I got to figure out, am I going to itemize all this stuff? What am I, you know, there's a lot that goes into it. With an estate sale, basically, you're plowing through your house and you're separating. Over here is everything that's going to go to the estate sale, and over here is everything that's going to go with me. Done. It's still in your home, and, you know, that's another part of the process, and we'll talk about that.
I love that. So that has simplified the system to 2 steps.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's what we need, is to simplify the system for us. I have had clients that have lived in gated communities or in a condo where an estate sale is not allowed. There are several companies that will take the items and they'll do an online auction, or they have a physical place where they do their estate sales in a warehouse type of setting. So there are plenty of options for that. We will always visit and bring our recommended vendors, whether it's the move manager, the movers, the estate sale organizers. We'll bring them to you and have a meeting with you. We have vetted them. We know the jobs that they do. We've had success with them. And so they'll give you their honest opinion as to whether or not, yes, there's enough here for an estate sale, or no, there's not. Or maybe you have, one of the things that we frequently face is, I have maybe a very specialized collection. Could be antique clocks, could be workshop equipment, woodworking equipment, could be anything. The estate sale providers that we work with are skilled in research. We had an estate sale recently, Nicole and I both were over there, and everyone on their team was researching their particular area of expertise. So we had antique cameras over here, we had antique clocks over there, we had art over in this section, and their team has who's that are experts in their field. And so it trickles down and makes it very easy.
If you are good at the computer and you want to look and see what an estate sale looks like, if you've never been to an estate sale, estatesales.net, and the majority of the estate sale people in Orlando, or actually it's all over the United States, because I found ukuleles out in Utah and I was like, oh, I'd love to go to that, but no. But you can look at estate sales and you will see they sell everything all the way down to cans of food. You will see how they set it up. You will, kind of get the idea, oh, I can sell that. Yeah, you can sell that, okay? So that will help you kind of wrap your head around what an estate sale can do for you.
And I think that's a great idea, because I had a customer ask, well, do I need to set everything up for the estate sale? I don't have enough table space to do that. You don't need to do anything. They are skilled retail marketers, and they will set up the estate sale as a store, essentially.
And you don't have to organize it.
No.
You can throw everything into one room that you're leaving behind for the estate sale, and people get all worried because, oh, it's a big mess in there. It doesn't matter, because the estate sale people will come in and they're going to set up their store in your place the way they want it set up, not the way you've set it up. So don't even worry about that, because they will gather everything and say, this is all the kitchen dishes, this is the artwork, this is the cameras, they will do it their way, with their tables, with, their abilities on that.
We even had them set up parking, because we were in a tricky spot and parking was a little challenging. And so they want to make the sale as profitable as possible, because if they're there to make money, just like you're hiring them to make money, right? And so it's a great way, if you have the amount of stuff, and it doesn't have to be all high-end stuff. It can be very practical stuff. But it's a great way to help offset some of the costs that are involved when you make a move. So happy to talk through that a little bit further. I have moved several times in my life, and the last time I sold my house and moved into my new house, I put my house on the market while I was still living in it. And so I had to prep the house to get ready, and this was just a couple years ago. I did not do my own open houses because I didn't want to be there to talk to people, right? It was better having some of our team members staff those. But there were people coming through my house and opening my cabinets and closed closet doors. Even though they were closed, they were still opening them. And it was just a very stressful time. And what we have found works amazing at reducing the stress level is, to Jane's point earlier, working on the positive. And that is getting you situated into your new home, whether it's a smaller home, a community, whether it's moving in with family, but getting you into that new place, set, settled, and happy. And then we take care of everything else with the house. It's much easier to do an estate sale once you have moved out, because then the estate sale company is taking care of everything else that is left behind. It's much easier for us to do any repair work or touch-up paint or anything like that when the house is empty. And sometimes when we move that big armoire in the living room, we find a hole in the drywall that needs to be patched or whatever. And so things become evident. The whole process is much easier. The biggest red flag, I guess, for some people in that is, well, how am I going to pay for that? Because I'm using the equity out of my house to get me into the new place. There are options, and there are a lot of options. My good friend Rhett Delaney can talk about different financial situations that work if you're going from a single-family home to a smaller home or a condo. Different types of loans that will work for that. Maybe you're going in with family and they're not going to charge you rent right away, so you could go ahead and get moved in to a new place there. I had a family that recently combined. The son-in-law and daughter bought the home. Mom was able to go ahead and get moved in, and then we sold her house. If you're moving to a community, many of the communities have options to get you in and take care in the form of a promissory note or something along those lines to get you in, get you happy and settled, and then we sell the home. So it takes away a ton of that stress and the wondering and who was in my house and did they see this, that, or the other thing, or I gotta make sure that I take all my handguns out and put them in my car so they're not in the house, or lock up my prescription meds or whatever. You don't have to worry about any of those things. Jane, let's get back to kind of the process as we're thinking about these things. You referenced, well, we could just put all the estate sale items here, and we could put all the things I'm taking with me here, or on this shelf or that shelf or whatever. How do we go about that decision-making process?
Okay, well, first of all, think about the effort that moving all of your belongings would be, as opposed to moving some of your belongings. Because if you think about moving your entire house, that's a huge, daunting task, right? But thinking about moving only part of it is just much more calming, all right? Although the transition isn't necessarily, but it helps you to realize that where I'm going, things are going to be in a smaller space. Examine if you have any doubt over anything that you are looking at. Do you have doubt about taking that? That might be an indicator that, you know, you're kind of sitting on that fence. Do I take this or do I not? Really think about it, because there's a doubt in there for a reason. Maybe it's because you realize, yeah, I have all this yarn and I haven't knitted in 20 years. So, yeah, we love to knit and we want to do that, continuing, but we go, I haven't done that in 20 years. So it's that kind of sitting on the fence, what am I going to do? So talking it through, thinking about to make that good choice. Maybe I can let that go for now. If I want to come back and do that, then I can always go buy a skein of yarn, right? Let's make the money off of some of that yarn, because there's going to be a Jane out there that's going to go, oh, look at all this yarn that I'm going to get, okay? But think about that. Is this a good representation of me when you're going through your stuff, all right? Is it a priority of mine? Is it an activity that I enjoy still and am doing it today and yesterday and will do it tomorrow, all right? Is it a part of your lifestyle, all right? Those are all things to think about when you're asking those questions. You know, do I use this? Am I going to take this with me? When I work with clients, we gather a lot of things that are the same, and most people are pretty good about that. If they've got a craft room, I mean, that's basically what it is it's a craft room. Or if they've got their tools shed, they've got all their tools there. They're not kind of sporadically around the house. They're pretty much in that space. So what we think about is, you know, getting those like items together and then comparing which one is the best one. If I have to take one hammer, all right, which hammer is going to be the most beautiful and useful for me when I go? When you're going through your clothing, you know, because that's even something. We all have our, you know, clothes in our closet. We've got our, you know, the women, we all know this, you know, our fat clothes and our skinny clothes. You know, we all have that, you know. Not going to make you raise your hands. I'm not going to raise my hand either. But we all, you know, it's kind of like, how do we decide what are we going to take? So we get the like items together. Put all the white, short sleeve, cotton t-shirts together. Oh my goodness, I have 15 of those? Well, let's see. I have, you know, I do laundry once a week. So if I only wore a white t-shirt like that every day of the week, then I would need 5 of them. But you know what? I like to wear a red one, and I like to wear a blue one, and I like to wear a green one. So how many, you know, you only need 7 outfits if you do laundry, you know, every 7 days. Now that's kind of unrealistic because we have a party to go to, or we need a bathing suit, or we, you know, but really that's the crux of it. So it's getting those like items together and then choosing the best one that doesn't have stains on it, that isn't all pilled up, that feels good, because a lot of times we have clothing that doesn't feel good, but we have it because we spent $150 on that top, but I'm going to keep that because sometime I'm going to wear it. But it still has the price tag on it because we remembered that it was itchy, right? So it's getting like items together and then making a good choice when you see those like items together. That's the best way to do that, and that's a part of the process that I use when we're going through the household and choosing things to take with or to leave behind.
I remember when you were at Downsizers Club one time, you said you were at a house and there were 9 spatulas in the kitchen.
Yes.
And I went home and I'm like, I found I didn't have all my spatulas together, and so I put them all together and I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't need this many, and I got rid of a couple.
Yes, it's amazing because you realize when you get those like items together, when you get the spatulas together. In fact, I do have a process that I go through with some of my clients. It's called spatula, but anyway, that's what it's called because that's where I was like, that was the light bulb moment for me many years ago. But she literally, by the time we did the sorting, she had 7 spatulas, and she goes, I don't even like to cook. And she goes, you know, she picked up, I didn't even have to say anything. She picked up 1 spatula and she said, well, I like this one because it's good on my Teflon pans, it's not going to scratch them. And I like this one because I can use it on my iron skillet and I can use it out on my little grill outside. She goes, that one's bent, that one's rusted, I don't like the color of that one's melted. These are the 2 that I use. So we were able to scoop those up and put them into the giveaway box. So it made the decision making much quicker, much easier, because most people go about, let's see, do I need this? Let's see, I use it for this, or will I use it for that? You see just how many questions just in that few seconds. Instead, let's get all the pens together. Which ones work and which ones don't, right? So it makes your choices quicker, faster, more efficient, and better, all wrapped up in one.
Very practical. Thank you. We're all going home and looking in our kitchen drawers.
Congratulations.
I think we will. So we've talked a lot around those steps leading up to the process of selling the house, and for most people that is something that we have to do, is sell where we're living in order to move into our next place. And we hear there are a lot of real estate terms that we use every day, but may not be as familiar, and one is called as is. Have you ever heard, I'm selling my house as is, right? And a lot of people say, well, does that mean I don't have to do anything? Sort of. One of our favorite answers in this seminar series is it depends, right? So one of the things, we were talking with a couple just yesterday about going through their home. They're getting ready to make a move to a community. And we've talked about it at Downsizers, and occasionally here, insurance is a lot different. Some of you have noticed some pretty significant increases in your homeowner's insurance bills over the past year or two. So we want to usually do what's called a 4-point inspection. That helps get an evaluation of the systems in your house. The roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the air conditioner, or air conditioners. It's an overview of what's working. In one of our recent sales meetings here in our office, we had a representative from one of the insurance companies come and talk to us about, you hear, oh, you can't get insurance if you have a 12-year-old or more roof, or a 15-year-old or more roof. As a homeowner, you're usually able to get insurance continuing in your house, but when someone new buys your house, they may struggle to find a policy. And so that 4-point inspection will tell us if there's going to be anything that is going to keep someone from getting insurance, or it's also going to show us some things that might come up on a home inspection from a buyer. And we can get in front of those and get them taken care of before we actually put the home on the market, rather than them finding them and saying, so let's say your electrical panel is outdated and that may need to be replaced, and maybe we can get a quote to do that for $1,200. But a buyer's going to say, well, I got to spend like $2,000 to get that electrical panel replaced. So they're going to automatically attach a bigger price tag and want to negotiate more. So if we can get the house as buttoned up as possible without having to do a complete renovation, we certainly don't want to do that, then we sell the house as is, right? Strong systems, and maybe it's kind of dated, but you as a buyer can put a fresh coat of paint or whatever. I did have one client that we ended up painting the whole inside of the house because they were very clean people, and she washed walls to keep them clean, but never painted. And so it was like, when we got all the furniture moved out, you realize that the walls are really kind of dingy looking, and we needed a brightness to them. And that was a relatively inexpensive way to bring some brightness into the home. And so we opted to do some painting there. But we had the vacant house, and we were able to see everything. So that kind of made sense. One of the most important things we do when we're getting ready to put a house on the market is pricing. And we see this time and time again. And our proprietary pricing strategies are, some would say, a little counterintuitive, but I think they do make a lot of sense. So let's say you have a home that's worth somewhere between $300,000 and $350,000. And that is the price range. We've got it prepped and ready to go. We've looked at the comps in the neighborhood, and sometimes this is a process where we might have an initial conversation and say, here's the range of your home, and by the time we get ready to go on the market, that price could have changed. And so we're constantly reevaluating that depending on what is happening in the marketplace at that time. Rhett and I talk all the time about how interest rates are doing this. We see people, the homes are being sold every day, so we are getting fresh comps on the market at all times. And that's why you want someone that is a local real estate economist of choice that can really dive down into those numbers. So if our price range is 300 to 350, and who, when they sell their home, wants to get the most money possible? Right? That's everybody. So let's say you want to list the home at $349,000. But that range is $50,000. It could be anywhere in the neighborhood depending on the updates and things like that. If we set the price of the home at $299,000, are we going to get more people in the house at $299,000 or less people in the house to see it at that lower price? Are more people going to come look at it if it's priced here or here? The lower one. And if we get more people to look at the house and see the value in the house, are more people likely to make an offer here or here? Down here, right? Because they see the value in the house. And so we have a beautiful free market here in the United States. And it's a wonderful thing because the market dictates the price of the home. The more people that we can get interested in your home, the more likely we are to get more offers. If we get more offers, what happens to the price? It goes up. Now, in 2022, we were seeing 40, 50, 60 offers on some homes. Are we seeing that today? No, we are not. However, pricing can make a difference in the amount of offers or whether or not we get any offers. If I have, let's say Apple stock is valued at $180 a share today. If I want to sell some of my Apple stock, would I have more people interested if I listed it at 175 or at 200? 175, right? And chances are we can get the price up there. So it's a little counterintuitive, and yet the market adjusts and will take care of it. You cannot underprice your home. If you price your home $200,000 below the market value, it would still get back to the market value, right? Because the market will take care of that. So I love having conversations about this with clients and customers and talking through the options. And you know our favorite answer, it depends. So we can talk through that and find out exactly what your needs are. I think there are some questions that you want to ask your real estate. You may be talking to more than one real estate professional. I'd love it if you only talk to us. Or you have someone that you want to use. But there are questions that you want to have in the back of your mind, and a lot of it centers around those systems and processes that we talked about earlier. Asking a real estate professional, what specific systems do you have that will help meet the needs of an older adult making a move? There are more realtors in the state of Florida than there are attorneys, I think. And everybody has a specialty. And so you want to have someone that's going to be hypersensitive to your needs. And having a great network of service providers that are trusted and vetted is really important. You want to ask questions around that. You want to ask questions around certifications and the studies that they've done. So lots of different things. So with that said, I want to circle back to Jane, and we've talked about a lot of the prep and how an organizer can help. I think we've probably missed a couple things, so I want to touch on that. But I also want to look at how an organizer might be able to help after I make that move as well.
Okay, so on the before side, we'll talk about that after side in just a moment. Looking at preparing for the move, and I know we've already touched on a lot of parts of this, Basically, you're separating what's staying and what's going to go, okay? And as we talked about, with my help, because I do the physical labor of it, I'm the one crawling up on the ladder, rearranging things. 2 hours for a kitchen, and you're done. You're ready to go for the kitchen, if that was all you were going to be taking, okay? 2 hours, we're done. But it's basically separating what is staying and what's going. It's looking at what are the circumstances going to be around your new living space. If you're living with family, who's going to be doing the cooking? Are you going to need your dishes? Probably not, because the family that you're moving in with has the dishes, right? So that would be something, that decision that would have to be made. Whereas if you're moving to a independent living and you have meals prepared for you, then you might not need all set, a whole big set of 8 or 12 dishes, because you're not going to be making dinner for a lot of people. You may only have room to have 2 other friends in your space because your space is limited. So it's kind of looking at a lot of those questions. Those are the kind of things that I can help on that before side, is making those good choices, is finding out, gathering the information as we've talked about it, gathering that information, and then figuring out what's going to be the best way to go about this. And again, the physical labor. That's what I do. That's what any professional organizer does, is the physical labor. If you're not able to lift and move and shove and push and carry and all of that, that's what a professional organizer can do, is do the physical labor of preparing for the move. On the back side, after you have moved, you've gotten into your place, and the mover has unpacked you, and your kitchen is all set up, but you can't find your coffee cups, right? Because where in the kitchen did they put those coffee cups? Now, probably they're going to do the best that they can to place the coffee cups or your plates or whatever, but their job is to basically get it packed up, get it moved, and unpack it for you, all right? That's the general way that a senior move company works, and they do their best to probably put your coffee cups in a place, but you never know. They might be up in that top corner, and you're like, I can't reach those, I can't climb, I don't have, a stair, steps to get up there. So that's then on that side where I can come in and help you kind of rearrange it so that it works better for you. Even if it's some boxes that they have not unpacked yet because they didn't know where to put them, that's where I can come in and say, okay, let's kind of rearrange this a little bit so that we can unpack this, and this will fit better. And then beyond that, I do organizing of all sorts, helping you to clear out, after a while you've lived in a space and you're like, I'm just getting too much stuff and I really want to pare back down. I can help you do that. I can help you get your paperwork in order, because there's a lot of that maybe it starts to get confusing sometimes. Make a smaller file system for you. Bill prep by writing checks. You sign it still, but I help you go through the process to make sure that everything is in order. Tax prep, gathering your papers and getting that kind of stuff ready. That's
Where's
the kind
Dana?
of,
She needs that.
yeah. So it's, that kind of organizing, aside from just your move. So that's on the backside. We can still have a relationship after your move.
I love that. I love that. So we kind of talked up front about, this is so overwhelming, how am I going to tackle it, right? And we've talked through a lot of stuff, and it may still be a little overwhelming to think about some of these things, but I hope that you walk away with the fact that there are resources available to you. There are people that will link arms with you and walk through the process with you to simplify the process. The one thing we hear consistently with everybody that makes a move is, I wish I would have done this sooner. I'm so happy in my new place. It was such a big adjustment, but I wish I would have done it sooner, because I'm traveling to see my grandkids more. I have taken up knitting again, and I'm making sweaters for my neighbors or scarves or whatever. They're finding such joy in the simplified life that they are living, that it is just like it makes you look back and say, well, yeah, it was overwhelming, but it was worth it to get me to this point today. So I hope you walk away with some tools. We're going to have some Q&A in just a second. So if you've got some questions, please prepare those, and we'll be bringing around a microphone to you. So I think our partners have those microphones. I'm going to ask whoever has the microphones to come up front so you can see when somebody raises a hand. So before we go to questions, did we try and sell you anything? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. And I hope that you've got some valuable notes that you're walking away with. Just remember that, okay, so now we'll go to some questions. Does anybody, Cheryl, front row. Melanie, can you bring the microphone there?
This is a curiosity question, really. On the estate sales, what happens to the goods then that don't sell in your 2 or 3 day estate sale?
That's a great question. In an estate sale, there's typically some things that don't sell. And the beautiful thing about hiring an estate sale company to come in is they will leave us, the realtor, with what we call a broom swept clean house. That means they are taking everything out. So they may have a liquidator that comes in afterwards to buy the whole lot of whatever is left. They'll get bids from a couple of people to do that. There may be some stuff that just needs to be disposed of or donated to a certain organization, and they know all the places that things can be donated to. And so they will arrange for all of that. And that's the beauty. We get a broom swept clean house that we can then prepare to put on the market pretty quickly. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah?
How does the new real estate law regarding commission affect the buyer and seller?
Yeah. So a lot of you have been watching the news. In fact, Barry and I had a conversation about this yesterday. There are a lot of changes that are going on, and honestly, we are still trying to navigate them. I am going to classes. I've got a class this week, and I've got one next week to learn about that, because in Florida, traditionally, the seller has always paid the realtor fees. And yet, times are changing because of some things that have happened in other states. There are factors to consider when you're looking at the marketing side of a home, as far as, are you going to offer a buyer's commission or a seller's commission? So I can't give you a 100% answer other than we're working through it, trying to get some more information, because ultimately it is up to you as the seller of the home to make the decisions that are best for you. And so my job is to provide that information and provide you with the what we're seeing in the marketplace so that you can make that best decision. So I think that's probably something that we'll revisit over the next couple of months, maybe in this format or at Downsizers Club as well. Okay? Back of the room, we're coming to you.
You have a list of places here for appointments. Are these the only places that you're willing to work with, or if you have another place that you have found on your own, are you willing to work with them?
Sure. So we listed all of our educational partners because we personally vetted them. And so we know the level of service that they provide. And that's why they're on your list. They help us produce this seminar series. And so we value them. But if there are other places that you have looked at, absolutely. If you want to go look at a community and it's not on our list of preferred vendor or educational partner list, we'll go with you. I love going to tour communities or look at houses because it helps me to know what's out there and be able to provide that level of service. You have a quick follow-up?
Yeah, quick follow-up. I don't know if I need it.
Yes, you do, because we're recording, so.
Okay. So the second question is, do you stay only in the Orlando area, or do you spread out elsewhere in Florida?
Oh, that's a great question too. Thank you, Jody. I'm glad you're here. And I did not plant this question. I have a network of agents around the country and around the state that I work with. So I'm on a call every morning with about 1,000 agents all around the country, and we have a network of certified senior housing professionals as well. So that's kind of a subset of that bigger group. If you're contemplating a move, maybe, I was talking to someone the other day who has a child that lives in Atlanta, and she's considering moving to a retirement community in Atlanta. So I'm reaching out to my contacts there to get them plugged in. Because then you get the benefit of really having two people on your team, the one in that geographical area, and then we'll still stay involved with you because we want to help you. So it's a great way to get double resources.
For someone who requires assistance living, someone's living in their home and they require assistance,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a plumbing, electrical, property problem, and there is no one to help this person anymore.
Yeah.
Who helps this person?
Okay, so you're living at home, you maybe have some home health coming in from time to time to help you with the activities of daily living, and your sink starts gushing one day, right? How do you do that? How do you take care of that? We're happy to help you get a service provider that we know and trust out to your property to work on that. You may have someone that you've worked with for 30 years, but maybe they've retired and closed up shop, right? So we keep a very long list of all things house related in our office for vendor service providers, so we're happy to do that for you. Melanie, I think we had okay, Christina, yeah.
Just quick. When you hold an estate sale, generally, how long does that last? Is it a one-day sale? Is it a week?
Jane, how's the typical estate sale work?
Typical estate sales are anywhere from 1 to 3 days for live in a home. That's just what because like I said, I look at estatesales.net just for my clients, just so that they can see. But that's the norm, is 1 to 3 days, and it just depends on how much stuff they are selling. For warehouse, they may only have 1 day. I've seen some where they do an auction in the warehouse, and it can last an entire week, where people are putting in bids online, or people are putting in bids coming in, or people are just coming in, and it's, a mixture of homes that are selling. Of course, they've got it labeled so that this is your stuff, this is their stuff, this is, and they're selling it that way. So most of the estate sale companies, when they do come into your home, they're usually there anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks prior to the sale. That's what I have seen as an average. There may be some, few little differences, but that's usually what I see is, you sign off, they come in 1 to 3 weeks ahead of time to prepare getting the house ready, because they're also doing their research to find out, how much are we gonna, offer this item for sale, because they're wanting to get as much money out of it for you and for them. So yeah, so it really just kind of depends, but anywhere from 1 day to 3 days. Most of them are from a Friday through a Sunday. Some are just a Friday and a Saturday. But they're doing their best to make the most money. So that's what, all the estate sales, because that's what they do. That's where they, they're wanting to do good for you as well.
And they'll usually have a point at which they'll reduce prices.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Saturday afternoon, maybe Sunday, because they want
They want to move it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
want to get stuff taken care of. Jeannie, did you have a question? Or-
What is the upfront price?
Let's get the mic right here in front. Yeah.
What is the upfront price of preparing for a sale?
Is there a cost up front to get an estate sale person out?
Usually there's not. I mean, if you sign on the dotted line and say, because basically what happens is you sign on that dotted line, and when you have moved out, the estate sale company now has ownership of all the stuff in your house. Only occasionally will they allow you to come back in and say, oh, I forgot one thing, or one thing's supposed to go to, my niece. But once you have signed off on that, then it becomes theirs, and that's when their job begins. The payout then for them comes at the sale. So they're working for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever, to prepare for that. There is usually no upfront cost to get that started. The upfront cost is signing on the dotted line and saying, here you go. Because one of the things that they want to make sure is that if they've got this, $12,000 grandfather clock that you have signed off, you left that, and they're like, they've put that on their list that they're going to sell that, and then now all of a sudden you want to come back in and take, oh, well, wait a minute, I want that $12,000. No, you've signed on the dotted line, that sort of thing, because they're in it to make money. Part of that money is yours, but part of that money is theirs. So that's where they're making the money, is in the sale.
And they will provide you with an itemized estimate afterwards of every single item that's sold. So you know what has been sold. Jan?
If I decide that I'm going to move, and you as a realtor see it as a square footage unit, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, so many square footage, and so you have in the back of your mind, but my appliances are old. Maybe my bathroom needs to be updated, or the kitchen isn't as modern. How do you price it then?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. How do we go about pricing, looking at not just the square footage of the home, but any updates in the home? And that's where we compare it to the others that have sold. And so I can look at others that have sold and see what updates they had. Maybe they had a beautiful kitchen, but their roof was 20 years old. Those are things that we're going to make adjustments for.
Your appliances could be like 20 years old, the washer and dryer.
It could be, and we'll make an adjustment to account for that, right? And so that's how it falls. That's the skill set that we have. We sharpen our pencil and go through each and every item and intimately know and study what has happened in that microcosm of the real estate economy.
So do I then get new to make it sell more? Do I get new carpeting or get it clean so it can look prettier?
Those are the things that we will talk about when we go through your particular house. There may be some things that you could do, like, for instance, we pay for carpet cleaning. And a lot of times it's just we need to clean the carpet. It may be a very old carpet, but we can look and say, you know what, whoever's going to buy this house is going to do all new flooring throughout. So it doesn't make sense for you to replace the carpeting at this point. What might make more sense is putting a fresh coat of paint on the walls.
Or new shower curtain?
Right, exactly. Some things like that. So we'll go on a case-by-case basis to help you decide what's going to make your house the most marketable. I know we're running up on some time constraints. We've got a question. Oh, wait, no. Barry already asked a question. Let's get somebody new. Was there another new question?
Up here in the front.
No.
Okay. Sorry.
All right. We'll do one more, and then I will tell you that Jane's going to stick around so you can come up and whisper a question in her ear, and Nicole and I will be here as well. Joanne, what's your question?
Since we're talking about organizing, what is the typical cost structure? Is it by the job, by the hour? How would you?
How do we pay for all this organizing for those of us that might be chronically disorganized?
Say that right now you just say, I just need an organizer to come into my house. Usually it's by the hour because it's very difficult to say, I will quote you this price, but then the client, and a lot of it's psychology that's going on in this client takes forever to make a decision on one item, whereas this client is way ahead of the game. The organizer's going, wait, I'm following behind. So it's very difficult to give an estimate. So most organizers will do by the hour, and it can range anywhere from $25, which, be careful because you're getting what you pay for. In fact, I've had a client who called back and said, yeah, I hired another one, and I said, you got what you paid for, didn't you? So it can go anywhere from $25 up to an organizer who has a team of people which that works for some people, having a team. It just depends on what you're planning to do. You know, that could be $125 to $150 an hour. Okay, so anywhere in that range, but you know, vet that organizer, know what your plan is, ask all those questions about, you know, I've got something on my website that does talk about what to ask about a professional organizer. How do they go about it? Some people only want one person in their house to work right, you know, one-on-one. Some people don't care if there's a team of people. It just depends on what it is that you're planning to do or what your goals are. Yeah.
All right, so in the interest of time, we're going to wrap up, but like I said, we'll stick around and answer any questions that you have. Just a reminder that you are our connection to the world. All those blue forms, Susan's going to guard the door and make sure she gets them from you. Please be sure to put your name on the bottom. We got a bunch back last month that didn't have names on them, so we couldn't get you registered. So we would absolutely love to get you registered, and we would love your feedback because it helps us to bring you content that's relevant to you. We have the tour tomorrow at Mayflower. If you'd like to join, come see Nicole if you're not already signed up.
Yes.
And then our next seminar is April 10th, a little bit earlier in the month than usual. So we'll be back here on April 10th, kicking off our Thriving to 100 series. And our topic on the first of that series is Living to 100. So you can pre-register for that on your blue sheet as well. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you to those of you that brought a friend today. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next month at the seminar. Take good care.
Thank you.